All right, so here we go. I'm going to stay off camera, which I know is unlike me, but I had a very bad accident between myself and the nightstand, which has given me a pretty gruesome appearance. You're just going to hear my voice, and we're going to spend a lot of time looking at PowerPoint slides and actually going through the website. So this is going to be a bit of a crash course in not only our website, but while we were all together, and thank you for giving me your time today, I thought it would just behoove us all if we do a bit of a crash course in marketing automation, because COVID-19 has really given us an opportunity to really advance into much more sophisticated software that we're using and technology and lead generation. And as NAFA Home Office becomes a sales and marketing hub, driving forward prospective members for leads for these things, new non-dues revenue leads. I think it was just a great opportunity to give a little extra teaching while we're going through it and get you up to speed with where digital marketing is in 2020. And so if you're not familiar with the term marketing automation, then certainly many of our agents and advisors who are using or getting sold systems that are saying, hey, look, here's a great way to automate your drip marketing or sending out emails to your clientele or prospects, or here's the social media to post. And that whole idea that marketing, digital marketing in particular, takes a lot of time, and marketing automation is a way that you can speed it up and automate it so it's doing the work while you're not there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I think it's important because it explains why we're on the HubSpot platform, and we're encouraging everybody to come that way. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And so before we actually dive into, and just a couple of housekeeping items, if you have any questions, just go ahead and use the Q&A, and then we'll answer as we go, or I'll take questions at the end. But I'm going to go a little bit between doing a little bit of teaching on slides. And so if you're just listening, I'll tell you when to look up. Otherwise, just listen away while you multitask. And then we'll go over and look at the site in live time. So I'm going to give you the theory, and then we're going to apply it, and we're going to see how it fits together and understand why we've done what we've done. Okay. Hello, John D. Richardson. I'm excited to be your host. So we're going to talk about the first reason that we designed the sites and what was the primary. You always have to have a primary design principle. And for NAFA, our primary design principle for this new set of sites was to do lead generation and to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for a period of growth, right? And to do that, we need a way that we're first and foremost, before we get to the members and where's the content and that type of stuff, we're really going to focus in on, and this is again, this was not the case of the prior website. The prior website was not built for lead generation and driving traffic. Okay, so now we're going to say we overhauled all of these sites with the primary objectives to start with, to drive traffic to the website, where the website is the end destination. And I say that because one of the big things as we start talking about this is, if you've been out there and you've been especially doing email to members with a website for a long time, this one kind of upends your reality, because your whole philosophy has been, you start with thinking, I'm going to send an email and it's going to go to a website. And now we're saying sending an email is one way to drive people to a website, but think about this. The only people you can send an email to are people that you already know. So if we're trying to do new lead generation, you're trying to attract new clients, new prospects, etc., you got to go talk to people who don't know you. If you already have them on your email list, great. We're at a different point of the funnel. We're at a different point of how to nurture them and nurture that relationship. But before we get there, we got to get their email address. So we play a little game out in digital marketing, because email address is really equivalent what's called the driver's license or the social security number of digital marketing. Okay, so that email address is unique to that particular contact, and that's how it works in our system, which I'll just take a moment. One of the things we've been doing lately is combing through all of the people that have either unsubscribed or we have them marked at, I'm going to take John D. Richardson as an example. We might have John D. Richardson at Brookbound, and we have him slated as a member, but we have John D. Richardson at Gmail, and that's not seen as a member. We got to rectify that stuff because our members tend to use multiple email addresses. Well, guess what? In systems nowadays, each of those email addresses is a unique contact. So if you have last week we had a situation where we had a New York Life agent, but they had to get a New York Life address, but they would automatically forward the New York Life address to another address for their firm. Okay, if you're using Outlook, no problem. If you're using a marketing automation system, that counts as 2 different emails, which is totally fine because the user nowadays should be allowed to get email where they want to get the email. And we should be able to account for that. But it means that we have to do some additional system checks, additional routine, what's called email hygiene, data hygiene. Data is very much at the center of digital marketing in today's world. It's just not the simplistic blast an email out to anybody and hope that they register. Okay, so we have to get a little bit more sophisticated. And the systems, since I'm on the email kick and marketing automation, the systems try to make sure that you are not an email spammer. So the systems are making sure that you're not sending copious amounts of email to an individual who is not opening it and not engaging. As a matter of fact, the systems will start to block it because it's saying you're not supposed to be using email that way. That is the wrong method. Think of it as that you're trying to cook on the grill, and instead of using a spatula, you keep trying to use a wooden spoon. Okay, you're using the wrong instrument for the wrong purpose. And today's people, there's a lot of rules now around email marketing. So the systems will actually help you to not do that and not abuse it. But let's get back over to our website. So if we think now about, instead of first thinking, I'm going to send an email, because that's use case of I already know who these people are and they've given me permission to email them. So, and then I'm going to drive them to a website, certainly one case. But if we think in the other one, in terms of I need to grow and get in front of people who don't know me, it's no different than, why do I go to networking events? Why do I go to trade shows? Why do I go into some community event or the chamber? I'm trying to get in front of people who don't know me, that I have an opportunity to introduce myself to, have them, and start to build a rapport. Well, in digital marketing, that is the purpose of social media 9 times out of 10. It's the purpose of banner ads, and certainly it's a purpose of paid advertisement. So what you're seeing here now on the screen is you're seeing, okay, yep, here's an email that we're going to send to people. And again, the end result is the website, but you're also seeing a list of our social media posts that are, again, trying to get out in front of other people who don't know us. And as well as if we can be in front of our members as well, fantastic. Because again, in today's world, unfortunately, the burden is on the marketer to be as many places as the intended recipient might be. So if you think about from a NAFA standpoint, we have Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We've got Smart Brief, we've got newsletters, we've got different blogs, we've got our own email system, we have all of our partners, we have banner ad opportunities, we have paid placement, right? We have 50 chapter websites plus another 30 some. So we have ample opportunity to get in front of other people who don't know us, to try to amplify that message. And that's the big thing that we're trying to do, is unify that so we can have as big of a brand awareness as possible and as consistent as possible, because of course that's going to help to drive growth. If we all look the same and we all look fresh and modern, etc., that's going to help to be more attractive, especially to people who don't know us. Now, the thing about marketing automation of what you're seeing right here, and one of the reasons you move to a platform such as HubSpot, is that everything you're doing, marketing automation is like a Swiss Army knife. It's going to give you all the tools you need in one package that are all interconnected. So let me give you an example. If somebody is now clicking, if they see our ad over on LinkedIn for Town Hall, and they didn't know us before, and they click on that, and then they come to Town Hall and they register, we can track that that whole sequence, that whole customer journey has been followed. okay? That affords us the opportunity to figure out how much does it cost us, how long does it take them to convert, and how many people are truly interested, let's say, in the content that we offer. So every piece of this, the social media post, the email, the website itself, right, the form, the button that says register, all of those are trackable events. And what we do on top of that is we have a piece of software that looks to see, are people taking the right actions that we're intending them to do? And I'll show you that in a second. But if we step back and we go, great, what else can drive traffic to websites? You can see that the list is extensive. Everything from flyers, some PDFs you're going to send out to somebody that has a specific URL, that is the website address on it, to pull-up banners, to paid advertisement, to radio and TV ads, billboards, business cards, newsletters, t-shirts, magazine, email, personal links. I bet if you can come up with something, I can probably find a way for us to track it, to convert to digital so we can understand the source from whence it came. So it's all about having a really good, solid campaign that's driving traffic. And the other thing to note is that when we'll talk about this in a second, about the domain name and what I can do with masking it. So not that I would think that our chapters, et cetera, are doing this, but at NAIFA National, we're gonna put together, we own naifa.org. Whatever we put as a subdomain in front of that, whether it's belong or AT or CA for California, we can always mask it to be www.naifa.org/something. That's oftentimes the domain or the address that will mark it. We're going to market what's the easiest for somebody to utilize when they're looking at that piece of, name it, paper, if they're listening to it. So it depends on the medium. But at the end of the day, it's called whatever address that I put out there, it will do something called resolve to maybe a different URL, a different address, and that's okay. Okay, that's okay. So we'll talk about that, and as we get further in with chapter marketing, et cetera, we'll talk about the subdomains and what to market. I've seen that as one of the biggest things questions I've got is, why do we have these different subdomains? So we want to talk about that too in just a second. Before we get to that, I do want to point out one other piece of marketing automation, since I've got your attention, to talk about the benefits of having blogs versus email. Because one of the things that people have asked me as well is, hey, how come we don't just do email, and how come we have these blog emails? So email itself is a one-to-one permission, okay? So you have to, it's meant to be as private as you can kind of get. So you're not supposed to take email that you received and forward it to 5 of your members. That's not what's intended to do. And the reason that's such a problem is because that unsubscribe link in the bottom of your footer of your email is unique to that individual person. So if I send an email to John D. Richardson and then he forwards it over to his buddy Gary, and Gary says unsubscribe, he's actually unsubscribed John D. Richardson, not himself. Okay, and that's one of those things, because it's not intended to be pushed out. It's intended to go from the sender to recipient, okay? Now there are web versions of email, and you could post those, and those again have not, those are kind of anonymous, if you will. But one of the things that we've often, it's a hard one at NAIFA, because we're all about the forwarding of marketing emails. So we take a marketing email, we just forward. Whether you're using Constant Contact, MailChimp, HubSpot, SendGrid, any of the Emma, it doesn't matter. That's not the purpose. If you're going to share it, you're going to use that web version. Now, so aside from email, which tends to be laborious because you have to constantly do that email data hygiene, making sure that the people that are opted out aren't getting it, that you've updated members, that lapsed members aren't getting this, that former members aren't getting different benefits, et cetera. And it's cumbersome. Blogs, on the other hand, have kind of what I'm going to call, it doubles your marketing real estate. So not only do I have a web kind of facing version of content, which is incredibly search engine friendly, okay? That allows me to put in content, I can put in banner ads, et cetera. But in addition, I get that permission-based email. So if my person has said, yep, I want to receive the leader's blog email, and I'm going to receive that, It's going to push it to me in email, but it's also, excuse me, going to lead me back to a website where I can view that content. The list making is automatically done by the system, so you don't have to do that constant export, import, opening up to all sorts of mistakes. It's just going to allow you to focus in on putting in the content, making the content interesting, right? And it will automatically get sent out to people. So as we go into more about the chapter websites, I just wanted to put that one out there because all of this stuff together is kind of what makes for marketing magic in today's world. And so before we look to our real demo, I just want to stop and say, now look up on your screen if you're just listening, and just, if you can burn this into your head, this is what's called a marketing funnel. And if you're in sales, certainly you're aware of going from, you know, a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead and going down to close and then into kind of your customer funnel. But if we think about this at the end of the day, the goal for driving traffic to websites is conversion. So again, we're casting a really wide net to make sure that we are getting out in front of people who don't know NAIFA. We are moving them into a website where we can gamify them, if you will, where we can capture their email address through something. This is why so many people use blog subscriptions. That's why you use webinars so often. It's why you do any sort of like register and download a white paper, download the NAIFA 130th. Anything you can register for that you're going through a form, that's the purpose of all this work, and oftentimes blogs as well, is because we're trying to pull people into a funnel. So all of our glossy social media posts, etc., we're working on attracting, we're going to convert them, right? We're going to pull them through, and where you're trying to understand here is when can I convert them, let's say to membership or to whatever the funnel might be, to registering for the National Quality Awards, to registering for LACP, to becoming a subscriber for our Advocacy and Action Center. Whatever the program might be, it's the same process of what we're trying to do. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, and oh, actually I have one more, and then I'm going to say we're going to look at our live website, and we're going to look at the public portion, because the public portion is going to do what? It's going to allow us to do attract and convert for people that we're trying to pull ultimately into one of these audience types as a follower of NAIFA. And so our main audiences for our different public-facing sites, and we're going to start using that term, public-facing site, are policymakers and legislators, so all of our subdomain of advocacy. Certainly our partners, so we want our partners to be able to visually see that we have some ROI there for them. We want to name drop our partners in social media, et cetera, make sure their logos are there. Certainly we want to do the same to pull in prospective partners, most definitely for prospective members, the media, and I would say competitors, because we know they're out there and they're going to be looking as well. And I note that because one of the big things we did is we were giving away too much. We were telling everybody our secret sauce about what we were doing in all sorts of programs. And so we've moved a lot of our secret sauce because we're really trying to build that member value proposition that once you become part of NAIFA, you're part of this community that cares. So we don't want to tell everybody about that. Okay, so that means we got to build a secret place for members only. It doesn't have to be that secret, but a special place where we're focused in on a different experience and we're not mixing prospective members with current members, right? And so we're in process of doing that and separating that out. So we have to remember that because competitors are always going to benchmark you, certainly in any sort of market. So we want to be aware of that and we want to really build the value proposition. Like if you are a member, you can have X, Y, and Z, okay? And so we're working on that. So I guess as a synopsis for where we are right now, Q1 and Q2 of this year, we're all about launching the platform of all of these new sites. And you're gonna see as we go through it, there are a lot. I did a full demo for the board of Alaska, thank you Alaska, and we finished and they went, wow, like I'm exhausted. And I said, well, you have to remember, here's a big myth. Nowadays, people are not going to the site and just going through and spending time just sitting there browsing and going through and seeing everything we have. People are coming, that doesn't happen. And we know that because we have the software that shows that. People are being directed, come to the site, usually for one particular thing, to register for the town hall. They come in, they register, maybe they spend another 30 seconds, which would still be a lot in today's world, looking at something else that piques their interest. But even that is you're hard pressed to find that type of user. Instead, what you want to get to is they came in to register for town hall, they're going to register, they finish, they see you've successfully done that, and immediately there's something pops up to say, if you liked this, you probably would like, NAFA Nation Impact Week, or immediately in their inbox with the confirmation of here's your town hall, they're getting the secondary offer, right? So you're getting into the Amazon mode. People like you that like this also like this. So you're trying to follow that instant awareness and try to put them into a path to say, my gosh, if you registered for a webinar that has to do with long-term care, you might definitely like to subscribe to our limited and extended care planning center. So it's doing that puzzle work and matching that up. And Q1 and Q2 has all been about just overhauling NAFA so we have a destination we're all really proud of, that's functional, that's up to date looking, and so we can again drive new traffic and set up these conversion funnels. Whereas the back half of the year, it's all about getting consistent in what I'm going to call our program marketing. Meaning, like, we always have paid advertisement running for the LACP or for the Advisor Ambassador program or for Advisor Today. Any of those things where we're looking at what's the real return, are we generating the right leads, and what's our cost per lead. So just giving a little look ahead there. So again, purpose of subdomains, search engine friendly, allows for easier tracking, provide good reporting, and allows you to do microsites in one platform. Okay, and so don't let that, let's stop sharing, let me switch over. So don't let the different subdomains throw you, is really the bottom line, okay? Because I think that's been something that's been throwing people. Because in today's world, again, one thing to note is most people are being driven here from something else. Again, they're not just here toiling about, trying to figure stuff out. And the second piece is there's really two types of users. There are people that use navigation, and there are people that do search, okay? And there's a pretty big split between males and females, but in either case, you can use this. But these are the two ways that most people use websites. And the other thing, if you didn't know, is that using the logo here has become the standard to return home for any of those microsites, okay? So let's start off and let's do a quick tour for our public site. So our public site, you'll see us advertise it as www.nafa.org, or you'll see it as belong.nafa.org, depending if we're really pushing, depending what we're pushing. So if people don't know us at all, we probably use www, but if we're there and people are looking at this, we want to use, basically it's not that subliminal. We want to use a subliminal ask, which is, this is where you should belong. So you can tell that we're already talking to prospective people, okay? And so the way that the site works is we've got our homepage, we have our new tagline here, right? We've just got some nice little, placeholders, et cetera. We've got a nice video. We talk about where does Main Street USA. We have all of our links, again, super search engine friendly. And then the way that you would normally use the site is that you would go through the navigation. Now you would have been, again, not searching, but if you are now going to just browse through here to get acclimated to it, you would say that under the About section, you're going to find out all the things you would expect to hear or to learn about an association. What is this NAFA thing if you didn't know anything about it? So here we're going to talk about our mission. We're going to have our annual report, NAFA at 1:30. Okay, you can see right here, if we go to this, that you can download this right here. Okay, and again, we're tracking all of that. You're going to see our history. You're going to see who we serve. So again, very media friendly. We add our code of ethics. Here is a place where you're going to see our first time. You're going to see the same find an advisor, but we're just going to couch it as a member directory. So if we did have media, et cetera, and they're looking down here, they can understand we're a nice full organization. And again, this is updated by you as you fill out your profile, okay? We have our leadership. And I want to point this out for a second, because one of the big things that we changed as we moved to this new site is that we wanted to make sure that we were really putting faces to names and making, again, our job should be to promote our members and put you in great positions with the media, with the market, with prospects, with your clients, et cetera. And we want to reward and recognize as much as possible. So you can see here we have what we've introduced as what we're going to call gallery pages. And so, for example, if I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on Cami Scott, you can see I have a great bio of her. She's got an opportunity to do all of her connections, et cetera. So it becomes a great way to reward those of us that are leaders who are really giving time, because guess what? This is super search engine friendly, right? And we want people to know who you are and how much time you give to this organization. So this idea of this gallery page, we want to continue to build out so it's as pervasive as possible throughout the sites. So you'll see in a second when we get to the California site, they have that for their own board, right? But there's no reason we can have it for all of the Lilly grads. You know, here's all the committee chairs. Here's the, you know, whatever the case might be. You should have your local board, your state board, our overall national committees. However, you know, the nice thing about websites is there's no end to digital property. So we're not going to like run out of pages. So we can put that up there, and it's a small thing to maintain, but a big piece to reward. And so again, what a nice thing. If I want to talk about Cami Scott and I'm going to be out there in the world name dropping, well, guess what? I'm going to point Cami Scott. Let's say I name drop her on LinkedIn, I could point her to her LinkedIn profile, but guess what would be better for NAFA? If I point it back over to the NAFA site. So it gives us that opportunity to do kind of people placement, okay? So also within here, you'll see a page on our partnerships, and we'll list those out, right? So everybody can see all the places we're partnered, et cetera, in one fell swoop, okay? If we move on to membership, this again is going to be membership, and again, we're under the public site, so it's all going to be for prospective members. So we're going to have a page on who we are. We're going to have a page on what we do, why join, right? And then we have this point here I want to point out, which is called Experience NAFA. And this goes over to the Advisor Ambassador Program. And you'll still see all of these pages continuously get updated as we overhaul them into one consistent look. But it's an iterative process. We weren't going to wait a year to launch everything at once. We're doing it in real time. And by the way, we started launching this right before COVID-19, and we just kept on rolling because there's no time like the present to capitalize on this time frame. So if you're not familiar with the Advisor Ambassador Program, it's a 4-week free program. We have our Young Advisor team, our YAT members run it. It's a great program, and we get many people that just go ahead and convert right from going through the program. So we consider it a free trial. Okay, so if you don't have a link on your current site, if you're a chapter, et cetera, you might want to do that. Or if you haven't sent any of your YATs, you might want to do that. Here's another great example of a gallery page. And look how many of our amazing YATs and YAT pluses that have participated in giving these basically quick half an hour, really value added lectures to to prospects. Because we've often said that the best way to convert members is to basically do a taste test. And this is our ability to taste test before somebody dips their toe in to say, you know, I've been here 3 years, I'm gonna pay $30 a month. This is a great taste tester. So this is something that you should just know what that is, okay? So if we come back over to membership, and then the last piece, of course, is we're gonna have member fees and the ability to actually join. Okay, so if you notice on our collateral, we will have a link over to this page. And again, this is going to explain the graduated fee structure. Okay, and it explains in detail how to join. So if somebody has an issue in joining, let's say they have a question, right? They know that they can always do 2 things. They can always call us, and here's the contact, make it super simple, just like you would do for your client site. But I want to open your eyes up to this other new little blue tab down here at the bottom. we now have online chat. So if I go ahead and I open that up, I can do an online chat message right here with one of our member support specialists. And again, it's not 24/7, but it's a good chunk of time each day. And we're finding that more and more people are starting to use that. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And since this is all one platform, this box will pop up on everyone's site. So it doesn't matter if I'm on the advocacy site, if I'm on the member site, if I'm over on California's site, that we can centralize that support and get people those real-time answers, right? And not have, just make it nice and seamless. We're always trying to take the friction out of the experience. And since I'm showing you that, let me also show you this feedback form. So we have, what I was telling you, we have real-time feedback. We use a piece of software called Hotjar. And not only does this allow you to rate your experience, but you can put in comments, etc. And what I was telling you previously, the way we know how to make adjustments with the navigation or what people are finding, aside from collecting your feedback, getting feedback from our member support team, getting feedback from tickets, we also, what this software will do is it will actually anonymously record your actual mouse movements and your actual recorded visitor time frame within the site. And it takes these automatic quick videos that allows you to assess how you're doing with navigation, et cetera, so you can make those adjustments. Okay. All right, let me get out of that. Okay, so if we move on, I'm going to come back over now. So we've finished the membership thing, and you can notice in here we're not going into any depth about Lily. We're not going into any depth about the Affinity benefits program or orientation or any of those pieces, because we don't want to give away the farm. We want to, again, keep that as once I've logged in, this is what I'm seeing. Okay, so that becomes a different onboarding experience. So this is telling you all the pieces here. And then once we get over to advocacy, you can see we've broken it down to federal and all of the issue areas that we cover, state issue areas, partnerships and coalitions, our key wins. Here's how we get to the blog. Here's how we get to the Advocacy Action Center. And this is here because remember, the Advocacy Action Center, if you haven't seen it, let me just pop over. The Advocacy and Action Center is where you're going to make your IFAPAC contribution. One of the biggest things we're asked, but you do have to log into it, and you're going to log in with your email, but it's out here on the public site in case you're wondering, because remember, both members and non-members can use this. So we're more than happy to have non-members go in and take action on various issues, and guess what? That's a great lead generator for us. So if they're going to take time to fill out a call to action here, then we can figure that they're probably pretty interested in what NAIFA does, and we can go back and start to work with them from that standpoint. Okay, so we just back up. Let me back up for a second onto the Advocacy and Action blog. And if you haven't seen that, let me explain that real quick in case you should get a question about it. So we talked about the Advocacy and Action blog. It's something that we went ahead and we automatically subscribed all of our members to. And if you become a new member, you get automatically subscribed as well. What's great about this blog is, again, because it's a blog, it gives you the opportunity to decide how often you want to get this blog. Okay, so now I have some say in how big of a policy wonk I want to be. So if I'm John D. Richardson, weekly might not be enough to feed my insatiable policy, appetite, and I might go ahead and sign up for instant. Or I can opt down is what it's called and go to monthly. Now that's important because what that allows us to do, it's a measure of kind of engagement. So we can see who's really hot and heavy for particular policy, et cetera. Remember, we're always looking for who's going to be the next, who wants to be part of the PAC committee? Who could be the next person really getting involved in GR? So we're always trying to identify and build on the member side a volunteer funnel. Okay, but this allows you to kind of have control over how many emails you're getting and what you're getting from NAIFA home office. All right. And so again, we were talking about that that's the email portion, and that'll automatically come out on Mondays at 6 a.m. Eastern. But it also has this portion, which is the website portion, which allows us to, again, get search engine friendly traffic. So look at all the people that we've name dropped. Does that help or hinder NAIFA with our policymakers? So we want to do as much name dropping as we can, and all of these are nice links. This helps us to get our organic search engine listings way up. And what does that mean? That means if I Google it, we're coming up. We want to be at the top first page for sure, without having to pay for Google AdWords. We don't spend money on Google AdWords at NAIFA at this point, and here's why. We are in a market that we would have to compete with the likes of Nationwide, State Farm, Prudential, Principal, Mutual of Omaha. You get the point. We can't spend that kind of money on AdWords because we would be using the exact same thing: insurance, advisor, agent, annuity, etc. So instead, we're really focused in on doing really good content that's really search engine friendly. And I've had that a couple of times too, people saying, should we do Google AdWords? I would say that it's very difficult in the market we're in to be able to compete with that without spending a ton of money. So we can probably do a better job doing paid advertisement and things like LinkedIn. All right, I told you you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck in this webinar. So that's the Advocacy in Action blog. And if you noticed as we were going through here, let me just go over to Reg BI. You will notice that the subdomain is advocacy.naifa.org. That keeps it really, really clear to our policymakers and to search engines, et cetera, of people that we're trying to attract, what this part of the site is all about, okay? And so again, all of this is really now getting sucked up and indexed by Google and Bing and the like. Okay, so that kind of concludes our advocacy section, and we put some of our COVID-19 kits anywhere that we can so that people can find them. Okay, so I'm going to take a second. Let me just check any questions. Go ahead and pop those in. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on now. So, whew, okay, we're done with a couple of the sections. Let's move on. We're still on the public site. And now we're going to come to probably the most maybe mysterious, but certainly the newest part of NAIFA. And that is the bundling and the packaging of what is called the centers. So where it used to be professional development, and we had all of this content interspersed between practice management, et cetera, and it was, you know, we had a lot of kind of stuff bundled together. We're separating and we're repackaging. So this is really a repackaged place for us to show, again, we're talking to people who don't know us. And we're saying that, let's say that you're in recruitment and you roll over the centers, and people typically, we haven't seen too many people get tripped up. I was really worried about this one, and we haven't seen a lot of people because, again, you're going to roll over, and the first thing you see is Talent Development Center, Business Performance Center, Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, and people are like, wow, what is this NAIFA? Like, they must really know what they're doing from a recruitment standpoint, from a practice management standpoint, et cetera. So let's kind of explore each one in turn. So if we delve into the Talent Development Center, and I will note that all of these are still at the, most of them are really at the beginning stages and to be built out. And for here, I'll even pause for a second and say that we did a really deep dive on all the content that we previously had on our websites. And there was a lot of like, oh, we have so much content. But when we really looked at it and we said, how much of it is relevant, recent, on point, and we didn't actually find that much. So we took a pretty draconian approach to our content. And we said, if we didn't create it after we made the, after QME went into effect on January 1st, 2019, and we became New NAIFA Nation, we were gonna pretty much archive it and not touch it. And in doing that, we also got out of our contract, which was virtual library. In reality, very few people use virtual library. Unfortunately, the people that did were big fans of virtual library. So one of the questions, but it was costing us money and we were buying somebody else's intellectual property. And one of the big pieces that also changed come January 1st, 2019, is we said, you know what? NAIFA has so much content, so much expertise or potential content that we need to make our own intellectual property. We should do our own research. We should create our own materials, and we've started down that venture. So Elena Philo is now VP of Professional Development. She is absolutely working on that body of new curriculum, new educational content, and we will build from there. But of course, your feedback is extremely important. So if there's something you just don't see, we can look to say, okay, how can we add that? But in reality, we had so much stuff that was just archived or wasn't ours. We didn't really have the rights to it, that we just let it go, and we said, let's start fresh. We're a new nation, and let's build out. So within the Talent Development Center, just back to this, let me give you the philosophy of it. The Talent Development Center are all things, meaning webinars, content, connections, community, etc., that's going to help make you an individual better advisor or agent. So it's all about personal performance. So whether it's personal performance about how do I recruit new people that are, you know, that are the best ones that I need, or how do I myself, you know, become, how do I achieve personal excellence? That's the type of material that you're going to find in the Talent Development Center. So we bundled diversity and inclusion in there. Under education, we have our advisor ambassador program again. This is where you're going to find a link out to the Learning Center. Our Big Ideas webinar, Lily, and coaching sessions are all within personal development. It's also where you're going to find certifications and designations, because that's personal to you yourself. So you're going to have LUTCF and LACP. And as just a quick plug for LACP, if you're thinking about taking it, you know, no time like the present, you can take it online now. And also under Talent Development Center is where you're going to find all of our award programs. So for the first time, we're actually bundling up all of these award programs. And you might say, well, how can we put these also out to the public? Because we want people to see that and then say, ooh, I got to become a member. So it's a bit of a hook. You know, we're not going to allow you to apply, but you can see it and pull you in. So we want, especially if I'm out here, I want other companies and firms to say, wow, I didn't know that NAIFA could do this for, let's say, my agents or advisors. Okay. And so that is the Talent Development Center, where you'll find all of those pieces. Now you can see right here, I can click back over to home. And so I can come down and explore now the Business Performance Center. The business, if Talent Development Center was all for the individual, Business Performance Center is all about practice management and growing your own firm. So again, we have probably the most room to grow here, and we have so many people that are excited about adding to this. Each of these, by the way, would have a blog, and you can see here, just as an upcoming item, you might want to mark in your calendar, we have a special webinar coming up at the end of June that we're doing in conjunction with FSP. And we'll have a later series in August that will run as well, that we're about to launch, okay? So this gets into, again, best practices for your overall firm. So now we've got individual and we've got firm. And again, we have lots of opportunity to grow. So it's really we put the platform in place in order for us to have a place that we can grow into and create new content. And then the first center that we launched back in March of 2019 was the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center. And so this one is the most built out. So you can see here again, it does involve a blog, so I can subscribe for free, again, using my instant daily weekly. Again, you're going to see something very consistent. You're going to see a gallery page with all of our experts to whom you can connect, okay, that also contribute their content, their time, doing webinars, etc. And you can see here, we've got a full-fledged blog with all of the different topics, etc., broke down. And what's interesting about the LACP is pretty much the blog notification email has over a 40% open rate all the time. So if you're into this content, you are into this content. So that allows us to have an opportunity to put, again, kind of birds of a feather and have an opportunity for where people sit. Okay. So now I'm just going to back up one, and I'm just going to come back over to our home as we're wrapping up the public side. And you'll see really quickly the side for members is going to go quick. So I'm going to just note the other pieces that are here on the public. So under media, that's where, of course, you're going to find a listing of all the blogs and social media we have. So it's one place to see all publications. This is where you can link out to register for SmartBrief. And again, that's open to members and non-members. I know there's been confusion on that. It's absolutely another lead generator for us. And you're also going to come over here to our brand new Advisor Today. So if you haven't seen that, I'm going to go ahead and proceed, and you'll get that until we have something that's called, that we have to do, called binding our domains. So it's just a temporary kind of inconvenience until we get over. But again, most people are navigating, they're coming directly here. But our new overhauled Advisor Today includes a couple of things that you might want to look at. The digital magazine that's online, it also is a downloadable app, but you can see everything has been updated. So it carries the same look and feel. And we've updated all the content inside to a different typography, so it's much easier to read. And we work in conjunction with our publisher so that we can get the statistics for this stuff as well. Okay. Just come back here. Then, because we had so much content from Advisor Today, on this one we did bring over a lot of the content, about 300 articles or so. And so I just wanted to point out that you can browse by topic here, and you can easily go in and see everything, let's say, that's been tagged to disability insurance, and you can read down there new opportunities for advertisement revenue for us, right, and different ways to contribute. So just wanted to point that out, okay? And then lastly, within our site, under our media site, you can see our resource kits again for COVID-19. We do have an electronic press kit that we will put out there as well that's coming. That's going to have, again, our photos of like Cammie and Kevin. And if you want to have somebody, you know, Diane Boyle, you want to have them come and speak and how they can get to them. And that's still to be launched. And then lastly, we have events. So just easy ways to get to our events. So we've used this extensively to just make it easy to find NAIFA Impact Week, the CEO panel, our town halls. We change this all the time. That should be just an expectation. And then you've got links out to the consumer side, and then obviously to contact us. Always, you know, we're always going to make it easy to join and renew. And again, we can link out to find an advisor. And that's going to go over to the consumer site. I guess I should click on that. If you haven't seen our new consumer site, financialsecurity.org is how we market it. It goes to security.naifa.org. And again, this is going to give you your find an advisor. So all of you that keep your account up to date and stay an active member in good standing will be here, okay? And then we also are using this as we bridge out to talk to those who are not in financial services about getting involved in financial services. And again, our claim to fame for this site so far has been in really building out a really solid set of materials around COVID-19 for consumers. Again, always kind of bringing them back to find an advisor. Okay, and so that kind of leaves that to that piece of it. So I'm going to go on back, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Hopefully you guys are all still with me. And I'm going to come back to our teaching portion. And I'm going to talk about now the member side. So there's the public sides of all the things we just talked about, which in itself is a lot. But we are never short of things to market at NAIFA. And now we're going to look at creating engaging experiences. So this is now thinking of the website as not so much the end destination that you're coming from, but probably the way that most of you think of it is I have something I want to post on the website for somebody to register 9 times out of 10. We've been very event focused at NAIFA. And then saying, I want to send an email to get them to that piece, okay? And so engagement, once they are now, think of it as they're now a client, they're now a member, now what? We need a place that the keeper of the community is going to be a place where they can engage, get recognized, provide community, and where we can provide that type of bonus content. So the main audiences for engagement then is once I've gone behind that members login, now we're talking about the content that leaders need, chapter staff need, members need, and really volunteers need. So pulling people into it, making it really obvious that there's all sorts of ways that you can engage with NAIFA as a volunteer. So if you look back up to your screen, guess what? Same exact funnel, but now we're going from the point of at the track stuff, they're no longer a stranger. They just became kind of what you call a rank and file member. And now we're trying to pull them down into hopefully one day wanting to walk the path to be on the National Board of Trustees, to be the head of GR, whatever that top engaged, the state chapter, president, and pull them into a lifetime value mechanism so that the people that join us stay with us, right? And really getting focused on how can we do that? How do we create this delightful community where people stay and they're long lasting? So I'm gonna stop again, and I'm gonna go over now to talk about the member site. Okay, so the member site, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna go to my member login, and I've already pulled it up over here, so I'm just gonna pop over to this tab. All right, and I'm gonna now kind of see that I'm coming to the Your Membership Customer Relation Management side of the house. So once I log into that, I'm gonna see two things, and this is where it does get a little bit, we're working on smoothing this out, but we just had to get these things launched, and then we're gonna iterate to perfection from there. When I come in here and I've logged in, I'm gonna come into my social links site, right? And that's where I'm gonna be able to update my profile. And I really wanna point this one out because a lot of the recordings show that we get kind of the most caught up here on that login. The information, I just wanna reiterate, the information that you put into your profile is what's gonna show up on that Find an Advisor, both on the member directory and on the consumer site. So you wanna take some time to really fill this out with full completeness, okay? So also within here, here's my full member directory. I would also remind you there is a downloadable app. So if you want to connect with people and you want to say, I'm driving through Tennessee and I'm like, what is John D. Richardson's email or phone number? Because I want to text him. I can use the directory and I can use it on my mobile phone or on my desktop here on my website, right? I also have the ability to have inbox messages. I have the ability to make connections. And I think for the most part, most of you, what you're using is accessing this for groups. So whether I'm coming into the Leader Center, because I'm a leader, or I'm accessing my own state chapter, so I can get to reports, etc. And just to remind everybody, I'm gonna pop into Ohio about where those things are located. If I come into the state chapter of Ohio, and I come under admin, here's my available reports. So that's one that we just wanna burn into your brain. And that's where I'm gonna go ahead and get all of my current members, lapsed, expired, etc. And as long as you are a leader and you're part of that group, and if you're part of your state group instead of your local, you can have access to being able to communicate within your group. And again, if you're actually seen as a leader, you can access these reports. But I just wanted everybody to know we're making that available. You don't have to just rely on, like, say, one person to get that, okay? All right, so that's kind of social link in a nutshell. And then I just want to kind of hop back for a second and go over to the member site. So once I'm logged in, the member site is, we're going to note that it's members, and you've got a cool, classy logo that's just for you. And if you need to get back to the members homepage, you would just, again, click on that logo. You'll notice that I have a quick link out to the public site that we've just gone on about. And then I'm going to see the membership promise that we talk about all the time. So how do we organize to deliver on our membership promise? And so now we're over to advocate, educate, and differentiate, which is specific to membership. So under advocate, I'm not going to get all of the things that are out there in the public site. I'm not going to repeat that because that just gives huge opportunity for error on the issue briefs, etc. I'm going to know that when I'm talking about advocate within a member context, that I'm going to talk about the things that are specific to members. And most importantly, that's how to get involved. It's where you'd find GovTalk, meaning like you're going to get GovTalk in your inbox, but if you want to go back and get the archived edition, that's where I'm going to find all of my archived edition, because that's only for members, right? It's also where I'm going to find things like grassroots. How do I get to my advocacy handbook, the CAP 50 program, Congressional Council, who's on that, right? How do I get to the IFAPAC store, and how do I donate? On the educate side, I'm going to get the things again that are specific to members. Now, NAIFA Live, I'm going to note, prior to this, we tried all sorts of stuff in our 1.5 years of experimentation with NAIFA Live. We've had it open to non-members for just members. We've had it publicly available, archives available, etc. We've all decided, that is, there's a committee that decides that it should be our monthly meeting that's just for members. So you're not going to see those links anymore out on the public site. There's probably a few we need to pull back in, but just know that NAIFA Live is now within the member site. You'll also see some of the other pieces where members get a discount, things like that, to the Learning Center. Lily, that's where you find NAIFA Client Cast from Real Wealth, our CE credit with the codes, our coaching sessions, etc. Under Differentiate, this is where you're going to find, where can I register for orientation? So we already send an email, but if you wanted to know where could you send people, that's where it is. Where do I get my member logo? So you can see right here, I can download it. Where do I get my member benefits program? And again, benefits for us is our webinar program. And I can simply come down here and do a little flip of the card, watch on demand, or come for my next upcoming one. And so we at Home Office track that and try to make sure that we're getting everybody through this program. But again, it's a great refresher for people who have been a member for a long time, because they have been taught that member benefit is like a discount program. We call those discount programs. Understanding how you can get in the media, though, is a real benefit of membership. So if I can get name dropped in the Columbus Dispatch or something like that, that might be a real boon to my career. Okay? So also here, since we're talking about it, here we have our Affinity discount program. So we've broken it down by the different types of discounts that we have. All right, so that's where I'm going to find, for example, insurance. Here's my Kelsey, my E&O, etc. And each of those has a page for that. Okay. We'll also find information about our partnership with Life Happens, more information on our awards program, resource kits from COVID-19, and something very important I want to point out to you, which is if you've accidentally opted out of all email and globally unsubscribed, and you notice that you're no longer receiving email, or you've got a member that's no longer receiving email, you can send them this whole URL right here, and it'll allow them, it'll step them through how to opt back in and how they can get just the emails that they want. And we've just recently launched that to help us with that problem. It's a problem all associations have, but it's been maybe exacerbated by NAIFA, because over the years we've had different other organizations emailing as well. So I might be a member who's getting local emails, state emails, home office emails, emails from Affinity partners, etc. And they didn't mean to opt out of everything, but they did. And we now look at this all the time, excuse me, as well, to try to make sure that we're having that good email hygiene, and we're not, you know, kind of like leave no child left behind. Like we can't, email is our life source. It's very expensive to direct mail anything times 25,000. So we really rely on email as a communication vehicle, and we want to make it easy. Again, frictionless as possible to opt back in. You can't call customer support and have them do it, because it's permission based. Only you, the recipient, can opt back into email. People cannot do it on your behalf. Okay, and so the other kinds of pieces that I just want to note within here is we do have a community calendar. We try very hard to list everybody's stuff, and I'm sure anybody who's a chapter staff has seen this. Just as a heads up, we're shopping for an easier to use calendar, because guess what we've heard 9 times, 10 times, a ton of times, it's just not as easy it can be in downloading to your, you know, to your mobile app, to your calendar, keeping everything synced up and making it really easy on mobile, et cetera, to use. So we are shopping for that, just heads up, but that's our calendar now that should list out all the events that we're having. We try really hard to put all that together. We are like a university. We have, you could do, as you know, NAIFA all day long and twice on Sunday. We have a link to groups and chapters. That's going to take you right back to what I showed you before of Social Link. Okay, and this is where you get to the NAIFA store, and here's all the volunteer opportunities I was telling you about. So hopefully you're scrolling through and your member is saying, well, that just piqued my interest. What is that about? How do I become an advisor ambassador? And there's a form here for everybody. And you can see at the top, quick links to my profile, always renew, donate to IFAPAC, contact member support, email them directly, call them directly. And if you're a leader, you can then get over to the leader site. And the leader site, again, is going to have a home page. It's going to make it easy to get between these. And the real thing that we've been keeping within the leader site is an easy way to mostly get to the marketing toolkits, your forms and reports, IFA pack, town halls, etc. Okay, and so we're using, Corey Matthews is really looking to get that feedback from our leaders about what should this site be, does it need to be this way, etc., so we can get it to where it needs to be. But if you haven't known that this is where you get these marketing kits, I would be remiss if I did not point this out. So here's where all of our marketing promo kits are. So if you're saying to yourself, hey, I wish I had a PDF that I could attach to send to somebody about how amazing NAIFA is, well, again, you click on the card and you can go to the kit and you can see everything that we've got, right? So here's the all favorite agency presentation we talk about. Here's the graduated fee structure you can download. You can choose between Cheryl and Danny, etc. And we have all sorts of kits here for all the programs that we run. And that really concludes everything that we wanted to cover today. I'll just keep scrolling through to see how many kits we have. And we're always adding. So you can take those, download those, put those onto your own social media, etc. And we've had a lot of members say, well, does this need to be leaders and can this be members? And you guys tell us and we'll just move in, more the merrier for marketing, right? I'm never going to say no to somebody who wants to help us market. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to do a quick check because we're at the top of the hour, see if we have any questions. And if not, I will bid you guys adieu. And I don't see any last questions? Comments? Okay. Well, then I think we will adjourn for the day. And again, we do have a quick sheet that's coming out where we're just about to finalize it that kind of shows you the public site, the member site, and where everything is. That's kind of a little bit of a cheat sheet that we'll be sending out as well. And I am more than happy for us to continue this series as whatever you guys like. This came from your suggestions. So if you want me to keep going, just let everybody know and we will put that together so we can all continue to move forward as one. With that, I'd say thank you very much, everybody, and take care, and we will see you soon.